Clara shivered. The night air was thick with fog, each breath cold and damp. She pulled her jacket tighter, hurrying along the wrought iron fence. A shortcut. That's all this was, just a shortcut through the abandoned cemetery. The old gate creaked open, its rusted hinges groaning in protest. Clara hesitated, a shiver running down her spine. She shouldn't be here, not at night, not in this fog. But it was the fastest way home, and she was already running late. Stepping onto the cobblestone path, Clara was swallowed by the fog. The moon, a pale disk in the sky, cast long dancing shadows from the gnarled trees and crooked headstones. The air grew colder, heavy with an unseen presence. Clara's heart pounded in her chest. "Keep going, just keep going!" She quickened her pace, her eyes darting from shadow to shadow. The silence was unsettling, broken only by the crunch of gravel under her feet. Each step felt heavy, burdened by the weight of the unseen. Clara just wanted to be home, safe in her brightly lit apartment, far away from this place. A soft whisper, carried on the wind, reached Clara's ears. She stopped, her breath catching in her throat. Had she imagined it? The sound sent a chill down her spine, raising goosebumps on her arms. She strained to listen, her senses on high alert. There it was again, a murmur barely audible, like the rustle of leaves. But there was no wind. Clara's heart pounded in her chest. Her eyes darted around, searching the fog for the source of the whispers. They seemed to be coming from everywhere and nowhere at once. Fear, cold and clammy, tightened its grip on Clara. She wanted to run, to scream, but her feet felt rooted to the spot. The whispers grew louder, swirling around her, voices from beyond the grave. They spoke of sorrow, of loss, of a longing for peace. Clara took a step back, her hand instinctively reaching for the silver locket she always wore. It was a gift from her grandmother, a symbol of protection, but even its familiar weight against her chest couldn't quell the rising terror within her. A figure coalesced from the fog, a woman with sorrow etched on her pale face, her eyes shimmering like moonlit tears locked onto Clara's. She wore a tattered white gown, her long dark hair cascading down her back like a silken waterfall. "Help me," the woman whispered, her voice a mournful sigh. Clara stumbled back, her heart pounding against her ribs. This was impossible, it couldn't be real, yet there she stood, a spectre from beyond the grave. "Who are you?" Clara managed, her voice trembling. The woman's sorrowful gaze never wavered. "My name is Eliza," she whispered, her voice filled with a deep sadness, "and I cannot find peace." Eliza reached out, her translucent hand hovering in the air. "Please," she pleaded, her voice echoing through the stillness of the cemetery, "help me find peace." Clara, her initial fear giving way to a strange sense of sympathy, found herself drawn to Eliza's plight. "How can I help you?" she asked, her voice barely a whisper. Eliza pointed a spectral finger towards a weather-beaten headstone, its inscription barely visible beneath years of moss and grime. "My locket," she murmured, "it holds the key to my peace." Hesitantly, Clara approached the grave. The inscription read, "Eliza and William, together forever." As she brushed away the moss from the base of the headstone, her fingers closed around a small, cold object. It was a silver locket, tarnished with age. With trembling fingers, Clara opened the locket. Inside, nestled against faded velvet, were two miniature portraits, one of Eliza, her ethereal beauty captured forever, and the other of a man with kind eyes and a warm smile. Behind the portraits, she found a small, folded piece of paper. Carefully, she unfolded it, her eyes widening as she read the faded words. The letter, penned in elegant script, told a tale of love, betrayal, and murder. William, blinded by greed, had poisoned Eliza for her inheritance, burying her body in this very cemetery. The locket, a symbol of their love, became a testament to his cruelty. Clara's blood ran cold. The locket wasn't a key to Eliza's peace, it was a shackle, binding her to the mortal realm. She turned back to Eliza, the spectral figure shimmering under the pale moonlight. "He buried you with this," Clara said, her voice filled with a mixture of sadness and anger. Eliza's ethereal form flickered, her sadness replaced by a surge of anguish. "He promised me forever," she whispered, her voice filled with betrayal. But forever ended that night. Clara knew what she had to do. Holding the locket aloft, she flung it to the ground, the metal clanging against a nearby headstone. As she did, a blinding light erupted from Eliza, filling the cemetery with an otherworldly glow. When the light subsided, Eliza was gone. The fog began to dissipate, revealing the cemetery bathed in the soft glow of the rising sun. Clara stood there for a moment, the weight of the night heavy on her shoulders. She had helped Eliza find peace, but at what cost? As she turned to leave, Clara noticed something strange. The cemetery, once cloaked in silence, was no longer empty. From the shadows from behind the trees and headstones emerged other figures. Some were old, some young, but all bore the same sorrowful expressions. Clara's breath caught in her throat. They were everywhere. Ghosts, their souls trapped in this spectral purgatory. And they were all looking at her, their eyes filled with a mixture of hope and despair. Clara realized then that her night in the haunted cemetery had only just begun. Clara was no longer afraid. She was surrounded by souls in need, and she was the only one who could hear their pleas for help. Taking a deep breath, Clara steeled her nerves. She didn't know how, but she would help them find peace. One by one, she would uncover their secrets and help them find release from their spectral bonds. The haunted cemetery was no longer a place of fear, but a calling.